And
Good afternoon, David.
how you doing it? Happy David's Day.
Is
Because we're having to do it on the Tuesday because you agreed that the best idea was me getting my ears done.
that was nothing to
So,
do with it at all. You tell me you had a medical appointment. End of story.
nah, it was a medical appointment, but in actual fact, it was ears, and it was something I'd been waiting for a wee while. Not talking about any waiting lists or anything like that at all. I only went in April, I think, and that's when I went on the waiting list. But it was important because I was actually hearing everything with the soundtrack of amongst all. It's called tinnitus, and it was getting worse. And I was starting to get orchestral themes going in the background. My mother started to suffer it when she was in her 90s, and she was getting a man singing to her. She could never figure out what he was singing. She said, but it was a man, he was a tenor, and that was it.
Right.
So,
Can we cut to the sharp end of this? Did they fix it?
yes,
Cool.
I literally within half an hour of getting these amazing, utterly amazing instruments put in my ear, I thought it was going to be the old fashioned NHS hearing aids. It's all changed. They're Bluetooth capable. They're blowing, you operate them from your phone, right?
Mm.
And the quality is like, I've never, I don't remember experiencing this apart from maybe back in my teenage years.
No, I wouldn't know.
And the tinnitus is gone. Why is
Apart,
it gone? Why is it gone? Because the missing frequencies have been replaced. They're there now because they rebuilt it. They rebuilt everything by boosting certain frequencies to to complete the thing, make it as good as you can get at your age. I reckon I've got about 8K. A newborn baby's got from 20 to 20,000 hertz of a range, and that gets less and less as you get older. Yeah.
stay out of my heat.
No,
Yeah.
it isn't. No, it isn't. As a royal engineer and a man that played with bombs, you know exactly what hertz is. You know exactly what decibels is. So don't give me any earshot.
Anyway, you missed your cue to move on. That's what the straight out of your head was. And that's what the bit where I go to. Did they fix it? And you said aye.
Yeah.
That was the cue to move on.
Mm.
But no,
Anyway,
I'm glad you gave us an explanation of modern hearing aids.
yeah.
Um, right, I guess we better get this one started because we've got a lot to talk about. And we're going to start off with Scottish stuff as usual because there's no a lot to talk about there, really.
Yeah.
There are stories there, important ones, especially the Yes movement. But really, there's nothing been earth moving in Scottish politics this week.
Well, the one we're going to discuss right now is of immense disappointment to me.
Aye, aye.
Yeah.
Aye, Jamie Hepburn falls on his sword
Yeah.
after the a little set to he had with Douglas Ross.
Douglas Ross, look, he stayed strictly to form. He's a wee shite, and he remained being a wee shite. Simple as that, right? And what he did was he wound up Douglas Ross, Jimmy Hepburn, to the extent that he was guy just blew it.
Happy
Yeah,
birthday, Linda. Just
yeah.
know the comments of your birthday. Now, what was it that Douglas Ross did?
Comments.
Aye, it's Linda's birthday.
Yeah, but where's the comments? There's no comments.
There isn't my screen.
No, I'm not getting it at all. So right, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Anyway, um, you see, now how did it come to that? Well, they're having a debate on a pretty serious matter in the Holyrood chamber, and the Tories were at it, David. They were bouncing dead cats all over the place. And when Ross's intervention was about fucking seagulls and Steedy Butt was on the agenda for the day, by that time it was the third or fourth one to do it, so he went bloody bananas.
Yeah. Can I just stop you there, right? We use terms like dead cat. Boris Johnson's a man that was famous for the dead cat thing. He'd be discussing something, he'd be under attack over it, right? And eventually, what he'd do is he'd throw a dead cat on the table. So, in other words, he'd be talking about the nuclear deterrent. Somebody was having a go at him, and he said, but what about? And he would mention something totally different. That's what he calls dead cat. And he learned that. He learned that at Eton. And he talks about it in his book. He actually learned that at Eton, right? And so a dead cat is where you use something else, take somebody off what they're talking about. Simple as that. Same as what David does to me quite often.
Well, anyway, in this particular debate, the Tories had thrown a few dead cats on the table, and by this time, Hepburn has had a fucking enough. And as we all know, Wee Ross is one of the most annoying characters on the planet.
Right.
One of the faces you just love to slap. Funny enough,
He's a referee, you know, and I can imagine he's got a few.
he aspires to be a referee.
He's mail on that, isn't he? So, yeah.
He aspires to be a referee. He's a linesman.
Yeah.
But no. So, anyway, so Jamie, Fosden's sought for unparliamentary behaviour.
Yeah.
And of course, he doesn't want himself to be a problem for the SNP going forward. What's interesting about it is when the cops had a look at the tapes, they went like, nothing to see here, and buggered off. So the official reporting said that a complaint had been made to the police, no judicial action or something like that to be taken, you know. But so the police said,
if you went to the police and you reported somebody for putting their hand on your shoulder, right? The police would have every right in actually doing you for wasting police time.
well, that's not going to happen either. Anyway, after that, Ross.
Technically, it is an assault, but the police don't see it that way.
Well, anyway, Ross, no happy that the police are not going to take any action, reports on the First Minister for inquiry into unparliamentary behaviour. They were never going to win it.
Yeah.
You know, dead cats on the table, they're perfectly legitimate in debate.
Yeah.
Whereas accosting the wee shite and calling him a spanner, that's no all right. Even after debate, that's no all right. It's called bullying, and Ross would know all about it because he is a wee bully, you know.
Yeah, we read several accounts from people online who had been to school at the same time as him, and it was particularly females that he bullied. Yeah, can you imagine? Most of the bullies that I knew of within my own school, it was blokes that they went after, right? But Ross went after women. So was that the bully.
I don't know why, but because the girls of the rain form of bullies to have to worry about, you know.
Yeah.
You know, right. So anyway, it's over and done with now. Gavin Day replaces him in his brief. Gavin's a perfectly capable MSP, and I think he's been in the cabinet before. So,
oh yeah, just because someone hasn't been seen in the front line before doesn't mean they aren't capable, right? It's just down to the fact we don't know them. We don't know who they are, what their role is. So, and we've got another story further on where that becomes relevant as well. So sorry about that.
I'm saying Gavin Day, it's not Graham Day. All right. Anyway, SNP appoint a new chief executive.
That's the one I want. Yeah.
Yep. And he is Callum McCaig.
Yeah.
Now, he's been rattling about the party for a good while and off for quite a young man.
Yeah.
He was an advisor to Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah, but not well known.
Not well known.
Not well known.
Just advisor to Nicola Sturgeon. He then he became a special advisor to Humza Yousaf. Prior to that, he was an MP.
Yeah.
And that was 2015 to 2017. He won the Aberdeen South seat and lost it in the Boris Johnson election.
Yeah.
And of course, he was there during the Theresa May DUP debacle.
Yeah.
Where Brexit and Boris's
debacle. Well, tell the people about that DUP debacle, because that's actually it's important. It's important to remind people of things every now and then, because it certainly it shows things how we see Starlene on the TV, and she's been talked to and asked her opinion on things and all the rest of it. I've seen her on TV recently, right? But let's have a wee bit about that.
Well, basically, Theresa May had a slight majority, but not enough to hold the House.
Right.
So we don't attain one MP, two MPs to rebel against her, and the government would topple. So she went into a supply and demand arrangement with the Democratic Unionist Party from Northern Ireland.
What did they
headed up by Arlene Foster, or Snarlene as she's called.
Yeah.
And she wrote a £1 billion bung for Stormont.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Unionists were running Stormont at the time. We know in 2022 that swung to the Nationalists for the very first time.
Yeah.
Sinn Féin. But the £1 billion, of course, disappeared into the ether.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll give you maybe just on the back of that, right? Also, Theresa May managed to generate £12 billion to put into the listening post that the British government have got, the GCHQ, right? And it allowed them to buy the suite of software from the CIA.
Right? Back before we get to the fact that our husband's history's disappeared off the internet, because then we're
that's what I was about to say.
Then we're accused of getting down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, but don't forget that's important, because at the time you could look up his hedge fund, his name, right? And it was Group 4 Security, right? And he was all over the place. And then immediately upon Theresa May, her wife, his wife, producing that £12 million suite of software, obviously there's a bit of an agreement with GCHQ to get rid of your husband.
I'm no longer to go down. I want to get back on the chief executive.
It's not a rabbit hole, David. This is fact. I've done it myself, tried looking for him, and he's not there. When beforehand...
I'm saying. It's only fact if you can put proof on the table that the GCHQ was asked to do that, and we can't do that. We can't put that proof on the table.
Well, we don't know if the GCHQ did it, or it might have been a sweetener from the CIA.
It might also have been that Group 4 Security had developed a programme.
No. I know Group 4 Security because I've done work for them, right? So there you are. I know fine well they didn't have the strength of background in terms of software to be able to deal with that. They deal with other
again. After they started getting government contracts and £1 billion contracts, they could do what they like.
No, but you have to understand it's like that's very ultra special.
I want to talk about the SNP appointing the new chief executive.
Yeah, okay.
Because that's
that's fine. That's
throw this one back in.
Yeah. It's not a rabbit hole. Don't forget. There's some things are rabbit holes that go, yeah, fine, but that's not. All right.
Can he prove that the CIA or anybody else did it for themselves?
Well, you can't prove who did it. You know it was done. There you go.
Anyway, Mr. McCaig is stepping in to fill the boots of Colin Beattie, who's stepping down for ill health. Now, this is the 5th chief executive we've had since Peter Murrell.
Yeah.
With the woman for Stirling Council, I think, for a couple of weeks and all, and she didn't fancy the number either. Or she'd pledged to join and changed her mind.
Yeah.
So, now the thing, Colin's been rattling around the party for a very long time now. He's stepping down for ill health. And I have to say, we wish him and Callum good luck in their future endeavours. And we hope that Colin's health improves. Now, his first statement of being the party's new chief executive, Callum McCaig tells the press that the party is fighting fit and ready for the 2026 election.
Okay, it could be a big bold statement, or it could be truth. Which do you think it is?
Well, I'm sure it'll be based on the polling, David, because apart from that last poll, which had Farage on 27%, Ian Steedy 17%, the SNP are clear galloping ahead.
Yeah.
So based on polling, then as a first statement, I guess that's a fair statement.
Right. Okay.
Because obviously the activists are doing things on the ground to get people to agree.
It's, you've got to look at certain politicians will make big ball statements all the time, but I suppose really that has got truth behind it.
Sorry, Avril, you're right. It's just Colin comes straight to mind there. It's his wife Carol that's the Carol Beattie, sorry, that's stepping down. I don't know if that's that Stirling Council we were talking about.
I can't see any. I've got no comment.
Colin, I guess it's just because Colin's been kicking about for such a long time, you know.
Yeah, when we're finished this,
people, please accept my apologies on that.
David, when we're finished this, you need to look at Restream and find out why I've got no comments, because it was really, really important.
Right now, David, no. I can shut the comments down and bring them back up, see if that helps.
Go on, do it.
Anyway, it would appear that I've misread the article today. I guess Colin just came to mind and I wrote that subconsciously. Yeah. Can you see them now?
No. Hang on. I've got I think it's appeared and it says chat.
Oh, so you hadn't opened up.
Come on. Oh, there you go. We're in chat heaven now, eh? Whatever you did, put that little icon on the panel, and I clicked it, and they came up. Hi guys.
Avril, to say you're probably right. I think you're right actually, because I remember reading the story this afternoon. It's just for some reason I've subconsciously written Colin. I guess it's just because Colin's been kicking about the party that long, and held various positions. So I do apologise, folks. I've got that one wrong. As I say, I've subconsciously written down Colin here for some reason.
Poor Avril, she's had such a wake up call that night. She fell in the water in the front of Holyrood, but she's been awake ever since. She's not had a day's sleep since that time. Sorry, Avril, I'm kidding.
Right, let's move on, shall we? We need to talk about the SNP again. This council has been forced to stand down. It's not a good look, is it? No. Council leader of Perth.
Yeah, again, it's the mere fact that somebody's SNP doesn't mean they cannot have criminal intentions, right? Yeah. Initially, if you imagine when we saw the forensic tent being erected at Nicola's front door, the front of our house, well, what the hell's going on? And then we actually got into it and we found out no, there's no. But it could be in this one. It could be the chap's guilty. We just let it run its course. Something like that.
What I want to talk about here was is the press have been much fairer lately when it comes to councillors getting in the shit. They have been naming their parties, whereas before they would only ever name the SNP councillor. They would divvy round the paedophile councillor in Fife and what party he was in.
Yeah.
Or the female abuser in Aberdeen and what party he was in. It would just say a councillor has, and then give you the name, you'd have to look the party up yourself. Unless it's an SNP councillor. Yeah. But they're being much fairer now. But to be fair, this guy, he's been charged with embezzlement. He alerted the party forced him to resign for his position. Tell me he resigned then for the party. Now, the interesting thing is the embezzlement thing, David. Speculation is running around the place because, of course, Peter Muro's been charged with embezzlement, haven't they? So the story is SNP's fully embezzlers.
Aye, yeah. There you go.
And but the interesting thing about it is they haven't said who or what was embezzled.
Yeah.
But if you look at the time he was elected to the time where he's not even left as a councillor, but as he stood aside as SNP council leader and has left the party,
yeah,
the embezzlement charges run for the same period of time up until now.
And what sort of value are we talking about?
There is no details.
There's no details in that.
The only details are that the case has been written.
All we've got is that the police have been called in. He's been charged.
Yeah.
And
we know that the embezzlement has happened consistently from 2017 to 2025.
but if he's been charged, hold on, if he's been charged, embezzlement's actually pretty serious. Would he not end up in prison?
No.
On remand until
No.
he's actually heard. No, he'd be free to roam about with that.
It's a white collar crime. He's not a flight fear.
Yeah, but you might embezzle a lot of people while he's out, you know.
No, I don't know what the embezzlement was, but it's interesting that interesting that it coincides with his time as a councillor.
Yeah.
You know, the case laws mirror exactly the amount of time that he's served in the council.
Yeah.
Now, it might just be that it's how he's operated a council office or something like that. Maybe no stealing from it, just the way he's run the accounts.
Yeah.
The way he's played fast and loose with rules.
In actual fact, when you look at councils, there was something else we were discussing prior to, and I don't have the full details on this, but it's rather interesting. Number one food bank, baby bank in Glasgow. Now this is a food bank, baby bank that my own wife is a right. They actually deal with it, right? They deal with this particular food bank. And this food bank has been going since 2017, and the chief exec was told that they would only get a peppercorn rental of £50 a year or £60 a year from Glasgow City Council. They were never ever invoiced for that, and all of a sudden they've had an invoice from Glasgow City Council for £20,000. Now, obviously, that spawns a few questions that needs answering. Definitely in terms of the council, why now? Why was the leader of that particular food bank told you're only going to have a peppercorn rental, and then not be charged that? So, yeah, you're quite right in what you're saying. There can be several things at issue there in terms of big business. It's a council, right? So, yeah, okay, fair. I get that.
Of course, the point we're making, David, to shorten this down, is that embezzlement doesn't mean he was embezzling for profit. It could just have been the way he was running his council department, fast and loose, on council finance rules.
Absolutely, yes.
So we don't know what the case was about. It's just interesting that it mirrors the amount of time he's been in public office.
Yeah, okay.
So it's just there's a lot of speculation out there because of the dates coincide.
Yeah.
Because, of course, the speculation would start. But it also doesn't look good.
I can imagine there's a few unionists going out, bet it's £600,000.
Anyway, let's move on. Alcohol deaths figures are out today, and the deaths are doing 7% in last year. And
do you think it's due to minimum unit pricing, alcohol unit pricing, or do you think it's got a factor to play in it? Do you think it's worth it? Whatever.
I think the cost of living crisis will be to do it.
Yeah, but obviously there's the cost of living crisis in concert with the minimum unit pricing.
That might have
obviously has to be in effect. Yes,
that might be something to do with it. But unfortunately, still 1,185 people died of direct alcohol deaths. We say directly contributed alcohol deaths. Now we talk about contributed and what's the other term, David, where it would go in your death certificate as a contributing fact.
Contributory fact.
These deaths are the contributing facts. Alcohol is the cause of death.
Well, alcohol, people don't realise it, but your liver, the use of alcohol, it's cumulative, the effect on the liver. People think, I don't drink enough for my liver to be affected. It is cumulative, so as you get older, it becomes a factor. Yeah, so.
As I say, these are alcohol-specific.
Really died cancer before that, but that's fine.
These are alcohol-specific deaths. There is deaths that are attributed to alcohol, where alcohol is a contributing factor.
Yeah.
No, at the moment. Get down, Charlie. Come on, get up there. Up you go. Yeah. A lot to talk about, Charlie. No time to have you crawling over me.
What's the name of that song? That's that. Everybody wants to be a cat.
Aye, well. Right. The way he's looking at me, I think he thinks he's looking at me like lunch. Anyway, alcohol deaths, as I say, this is, I mean, there's 5 millionaires, 5.5, 1,000 people a year are dying directly as a result of too much drinking. They make a big deal out of these figures.
They make a big deal out of those figures because it's all they've got to go on. You've got to look at the poor unionist lot, right? They look at, well, what the fuck have we got to go at? They're squeaky clean. We've got the alcohol figures have come out. Let's try and make something of that. Oh
Well,
no, they've gone down a bit. Oh dear, you know.
The figures improve. They don't want to talk about them. You know what I mean? So no, that bigger story. Right, let's move on. Latest independence polls out, and we get the usual nonsense goes where 52% yes, 48% no.
Yeah.
So no change.
I take what they've done is they've split up the don't knows into so many for that, so many for this. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's still within the margin of error. So since 2015, according to the polls, this opinion hasn't moved. No, I think.
What's the don't knows on that, David? Any idea? It was 7% or something like that, was it?
What's that?
The poll, there must have been don't knows on that. Did you get any figure on that?
No.
When they work it out, 52, 48.
They take the don't knows out, David, and then work that.
But in the actual data that comes along with that, right? You've actually got the original raw data that comes through, right? So did they tell you what the don't knows originally was they've taken out?
No, because they just extrapolated for the figure, and then take the figure without the don't knows and they split it.
You've got to figure out if we knew the size of the don't knows. Let's say we got
size.
Let's say we got a poll that's like 30% don't know.
It's misunderstanding you. The size of the don't knows that we need to swing one way or another.
Yes, that's right.
It's at 9%.
9%. Okay. So there you go, guys. You've got almost a 10% chance of swinging somebody from no to yes.
Anyway, a lot of the problems with these polls is the waiting.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about the distance of time between.
WEIGHTING. Waiting.
They're still waiting against the 2014 referendum.
Yeah.
Which skews the figures massively because of the change in demographics.
So it doesn't work. Waiting does not work. In our polling system, any polling whereby you're talking about Scottish independence, and I think both David and I are both agreed on this, that waiting for such a poll is wrong, the type of waiting that they're using.
It is definitely, because what they're doing is they've only got one other referendum to wait against, and they're waiting against the data for then. They haven't used any modelling to evolve the data.
That's right.
No, but more importantly, the big problem for us with this system is our politicians are sitting on the polls, waiting on 60% in the polls, and the polls are no fucking moving because they're no weighted properly.
Yeah.
So this is a big problem with the polling system, and it's being done deliberate because every other poll between 5-year elections, they would actually do the groundwork to extrapolate changing demographics and things like that into the equation.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that with this particular polling set.
Guys, both Dave and I have got a very pragmatic view. The most important poll is the actual poll where you go to the polling station or your postal vote or whatever, right? Okay. End of the day, that's the one that counts. But you've got to get round, even if you're not someone that does door to door for like SNP or whoever, right? You must talk to your colleagues, your friends, your neighbours, and get them on board with what you're saying about independence. Because if you agree with independence, then you want independence, and therefore you need to convince others about independence.
Okay, so the problem with the polls is the politicians are being driven by the polls, and the polls being weighted round. But the one poll where we did see modernly weighted had something like 68% yes.
Yeah.
So we know the polling's wrong. We know it's weighted wrong. The problem we've got is our politicians are all being held back by polling data.
That's right.
They're all waiting on it hitting the 60% and the tipping point of polling it.
Yep.
And it's not going anywhere because they deliberately weight the polls incorrectly. Right, let's move on, shall we? The great white hope of the left in English politics has hit a brick wall. And when I say white hope, folks, I'm not talking about colour of skin. We're talking about light in the darkness here. Because that's what we're facing here, light and darkness.
Mhm.
But the Your Party project seems to have banged right off a brick wall, David.
Yes. I mean, I don't wish Jeremy Corbyn any harm. I actually figure that if I ever met the guy, I'd go, oh, he's quite a nice guy. Right. Oh, it's all right. However, the moment he sets up to actually have a go at Scotland, right? I understand why he would do that. But at the end of the day, I'm a campaigner for independence. And there is no way I'm going to support anybody that takes away from that, right? So therefore, sorry, Mr. Corbyn, but I have no choice, but I've got to campaign against you. Like you or not, I've got to campaign against you.
This is not about you, this is about the English left.
Yeah, I know that. He has no, but he has intended to actually run in the 2026 Scottish election.
They're not going to be running nothing because they can't get their act together.
Well,
They're
okay,
suing each other.
the moment they can't get their act together, we're talking like a good 6, 7, 8 months away.
No, we're talking about probably not going to get off the ground at a split rate or not. So they're talking about suing each other.
Right. You don't nick his word for fuck's sake, right? At the end of the day, it's like he's hit a bump in the road, right?
The day with him.
And he's hit a bump in the road.
Boy, hasn't he?
There are people running about, and it's the old adage: be careful of the allies that you keep, the people that are going to work with you, because there are people within that your party that have actually worked against them. Yeah.
David, it's not his party. It's Sarah Sultana's party.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And she's the bump.
Yeah. Yes.
She's young and wants to move fast and get up and running for this next election.
All right. I'm not going to argue with that because at the end of the day, it's like if you've got an inside track on it, right? Great, fair enough.
His coalition is made up of independent MPs who stood
Yes.
in Palestine.
Yeah.
So they're two different groupings. She started, she announced the party before they were interested in being announced, so he was forced to back her up.
Yes.
She's
Okay.
now launched a drive for memberships before they were ready, as far as the rest of them are concerned.
Yes.
And that's led to them locking her out of the party account, them locking her out of party accounts and putting a message out to members saying, don't sign up because this isn't official.
Yes. And that's
They then reported her to the Information Commissioner,
right.
which is highly serious because the Information Commissioner, if they find there's any shenanigans, could issue a fine up to 17.5 million quid, and that's the end of the story.
Okay, but you're not going to do that.
No. And she's dropping her. She then accused them of a misogyny and threatened to sue them.
So it seems as if, from what you're saying, they're in a bit of a mess.
Sounds a bit like the Alpha Party.
Yeah, it does really. When you hear it from that side, you go, sounds like.
So when we say about the great hope for the left in England, Well,
Yeah.
it's the Green Party.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Zach Polanski's hit the ground running. He's getting traction in the media. And this lot can't get their act together, even though they've got almost 800,000 people pledging to join.
The people in Scotland that voted Labour in the last election will in their mind, they'll be thinking, do I vote Reform or do I vote for Jeremy Corbyn's party? That your party doesn't ring bells with them, right? Jeremy Corbyn will, right? And at the end of the day, it's like, I worry that that's still what's in people's heads. We got work to do. We've got real work to do.
I don't think they're going to get off the ground at this rate, unless Corbyn and Sultana screws her neck in. She's young, she's enthusiastic, she's wanting to drive forward at a pace the rest are no comfortable with. And
I can imagine Corbyn would at least he's got one thing in his favour. He is an elder statesman. He's got that look and feel about him, so he'll be able to go in and calm things down. And right, come on, let's talk about this. So okay. But do not, as a campaigner for Scottish independence, I cannot support him whatsoever.
Well, anyway, in late Sunday night, they were in talks, and I think a message went out to say they were going to start the reconciliation programme. The problem was Sultana was trying to launch all this without there being any party structures.
Yeah,
which is in place.
Which is just frankly stupid, really is.
But she's young, she's enthusiastic, and she's wanting to go on because they're talking about standing in these elections. But at this point, they're nowhere near standing in these elections.
Yeah.
We're only talking about 7 months out.
Yeah.
The party doesn't have a name.
Yeah.
They're talking about they're proposing 3 names to the membership. I thought the membership was to pick a name. No. But as I say, they don't.
Just reading a comment that just as answered Chris Fisher. Just look at the defecting, those defecting over to Reform. Those candidates just want the government paycheck. If Reform wins or gets significant numbers, it's going to be a right mess. In actual fact, what we're seeing an awful lot of Tories defecting to Reform. And the nicest thing I've ever heard is the phrase that was put up in the National, I think it was, whereby Reform is being considered as a tribute act to the Tories. But in actual fact, David will put it another way. David will say that in the actual fact, the Tories have become a tribute act for Reform. There you go.
That's because of the polling. Anyway, let's move on. This one's more serious and it's going to take a bit of time. UK, Canada, and Australia recognised Palestine, or did they?
No, it didn't. They put provisos and everything. The first proviso, which is the double state, the 2-state solution, right? What happened? What happened? Because Israel never ever want that 2-state solution. They never wanted that 2-state solution, right the way back from the Palestinian Liberation Organization, right? So there you go.
Aye. Well,
and it was a Israeli prime minister at the time that got shot, if you remember. Oh, I'm trying to remember his name. He was the one that was actually he was talking up the 2-state solution. Trying to remember his name. I saw a video the other day there of the blue shirt going and shooting them. Anyway,
let's see. Did they really recognise them?
Yeah.
As John Swinney said, didn't they go far enough? Should have recognised them without.
Yeah. John Swinney's absolutely right in this circumstance. He's saying, do not put any proviso. You recognise them, and that's it. You recognise them.
Put provisos on. So I guess we better tell the people why they actually haven't recognised
them.
Yes,
go on, David. Yeah,
now, what's interesting is Australia, Canada, and the UK all at the same time in the same wording. I guess the old King had a wee bit of say in this one.
Yeah, and what about Macron as well? He's put his thrown his hat in the ring as well.
He used in the same thing, surely.
Yeah.
The thing is, they did put in provisions to be met before Palestine is recognised, and they provisions mean that it was never going to be. The first thing was a provision that Hamas would never have anything to do with a Palestinian state. Well, it's no Palestinian state then, is it? Because outside the influence has already corrupted their democracy. It means they don't have the free will to vote for who the bloody well want.
Yeah.
In a peaceful state, Hamas might be a talented political party.
I've got a good one here, right? Why don't we make it whereby the people, not only the governments, the people recognise Israel, but we put provisos on. We say, look, Israel, we recognise you, providing you blooming drop your weapons, stop killing people, move out of all the areas that are under dispute, right? And maybe we'll look at it.
Well, we already recognise them. But as I say, the other provision is that Israel accept a two-state solution and return to the 1967 borders as defined by the United Nations after that 7-day war.
Why is 1967 germane to the situation? 1967, there was a war. There was a
7-day war, that's right.
Yeah, 6-day war, something like that, right? Against Egypt. 7-day war against Egypt, right? And the only reason that Israel got the upper hand on that one was because of the Americans. You read back the history on it, right? And yet again. So,
back to the relevance of this. The other reason why it wouldn't work is they may put another provision on Israel which they won't agree to. In fact, what happened was after the so-called recognition, the Prime Minister of Israel stood up and went on telly to tell us they're going to act quickly. They're going to speed up their settlement of the West Bank, annexing the West Bank.
Yeah.
Because one of the provisions was that Israel wasn't able to enter into the West Bank in this recognition at all.
Yes. That's right.
So, did they really recognise putting in the provisions knowing they would never be met? Then the answer is no.
It's not changed. Nothing has actually changed between yesterday or the day before yesterday and today. As far as that's concerned, it's like these are words of rhetoric. That's all they are. If the big states, the big countries cannot come in and go, no, we recognise Palestine. End of story. Israel, fuck off.
But when we look at the whole thing in the round, he didn't recognise Palestine at all. He provisionally recognised the Palestinian state.
Yeah.
Didn't even go the full way and recognise it.
That's what Starmer wanted, and Starmer is a Zionist anyway.
But it's interesting that the wording for Canada and Australia was the exact same.
I don't understand that. I don't understand where they got off in doing that. It may well be that within Canada and Australia, we have an Israeli lobby as well as America. And looking at it, we would go, unlikely.
I don't know about that, David, but what I do know is that...
you imagine the Zionists will complain like hell over what's been done, but in actual fact, they're going, that was really good, right? They realise
I'm not interested in the lobbies here. I'm just interested in the fact of letting people know that the optics of yesterday or Sunday were bollocks.
Yes.
Now that the dust has settled and observers had a chance to have a real look at what was done, and that includes you and I, we're able to say quite categorically he did not recognise the Palestinian state. He provisionally recognised the Palestinian state, providing certain conditions were met.
Yeah.
including aid into Gaza, Israel out of the West Bank and Gaza, all the things that they know weren't going to happen were put in as provisions for the recognition of Palestine to be.
Well, look at it now. You look at it now. It's like Netanyahu says he's going to speed up the annexing of the West Bank. In actual fact, he doesn't have to speed anything up because he's already going as fast as he possibly can.
As I say, it's important that people realise. We're just here to inform people that what happened on Sunday was smoke and mirrors from Canada, from Australia, and from the UK. They provisionally recognised the state on as long as conditions were met.
Yeah.
Conditions they knew that could not be met.
Yeah.
It was a publicity stunt.
Yeah. Rhetoric. Rhetoric.
Pure propaganda.
Pure rhetoric.
Yep. Right, I guess we better move on to fucking Froggy. And his immigration wheeze throwing red meat to his base. His Make England Great Again base.
So you mentioned that this morning. The mega, that is Make England Great Again.
Yep. So let's have a look at what he's talking about, David, shall we?
Yeah.
He's talking about taking away settled status or leave to remain, as they call it, for thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who live here, have received leave to remain, but who are still citizens of other countries.
This appeals entirely to knuckle draggers. Anybody with half a brain can actually work out, hang on a second, you can't do that to people that have been living here for years and years and years and years. And you could be turning parents away from their kids. You could be. You know, you think about it. You know, you could be turning parents away. What do you do there? It's unlawful.
Folks, to let you understand this, there's a lot of people who live here who've been given what they call the right to remain.
Yeah.
Or that's not what it's called at all, it's the
leave to remain.
To remain. Because they had very important jobs, most of them.
Yes.
And they've been here in those positions over repeated visas. So they've been given leave to remain without becoming a UK citizen. And a lot of them are vital to things like the NHS, which Froggy wants to sell off. But there could well be that there are people, David, well, no David age, but I'm just about around about the 40s, 45s here, whose parents have been here for 20 odd years with leave to remain because they didn't want to change their citizenship, who could then be kicked out.
That's right.
Being wouldn't be able to see their children and their grandchildren.
Yeah.
What Froggy's doing's mad. And it won't work because, in fact, actually, I'm quite enjoying it, David, because we're a bit of pushback in the press. And when people really have a look at what he's talking about.
Oh, he's a nutter. He's, because of what he's talking about, he's a nutter. But all he's doing is he's doing something that's populist for the knuckle draggers. Simple as that. As you rightly put it this morning, he threw them some red meat. That was it.
Now, more importantly, let's move on for the taking away settled stuff. Right there.
David, do apologise.
It's become about with you.
I don't know why. I don't know why this is.
Someone is at the front door.
David, mute your mic.
How do I do that?
All right, then don't mute your mic.
Hang on. No.
I'll do it.
Yeah, good.
Right. Anyway, taking away the right for those to leave, we settled leave to remain would probably crash the NHS. Probably. But as we know, he wants to sell it. And then, of course, he wants to save 236 million or billion, I'm not quite sure, by stopping healthcare and benefits. It's all right, David, you're back.
Sorry about that. I apologise, guys.
Healthcare and benefits for migrants. So David and I were discussing this. Now, when you come here on the work visa, folks, you pay an insurance premium to the government to cover your healthcare for the period of that work visa. So let's say it's a 3-year visa. I think it's 2,216 quid, David, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It is. It's either that or it's not far off that figure, and that
I think it was that last time we looked it up.
effectively that they pay that figure whether they get sick or not.
That's
There
right.
tend to be young people, as you say, and they're not liable to end up in hospital for any reason, right? But at the same time, it does happen, now and then, So that's the multiple of all these different insurance policies, if you like, will cover that. And I'm sure that some bright spark within the government will go, "Oh, we'll take that 2,160 and we'll offer it to one of the medical insurance companies and see if they'll give us proper cover for that." So
Well, as I say, they pay a premium at the beginning of their work visa to cover medical expenses, but as we pointed out, they don't have medical expenses. They're generally young. They're coming here to make a future and start their careers, maybe move on elsewhere to continue their careers and probably end up back home someday. These are the people who have got to leave to remain, sort of thing. And but he also wants to save 236 billion or million. I wasn't quite sure.
I think he said 236 billion actually on his speech.
And
people look at it and go, "What? That's the entire social security and NHS budget, is it?"
Well, anyway, this spanner doesn't seem to be able to work out that these people are all young, fit, and don't need medical care. In fact, folks, Masty, us who are now at a certain stage in life who may need medical care, Masty, us when we were young, fit, didn't need medical care either. So it's just red meat to a base because not a fucking single fact in anything they said. Never mind the legal loopholes you'd need to jump through to try and make it happen.
Well, if you look at myself in the last 2 years, leg off, stroke, and also yesterday, £4,000 spent on my nails. Right. So at the end of the day, it's like, I've been money's worth. But don't forget, in the past, I had a company with 45 employees. So I paid plenty out. So there you go.
That's the old attitude. I paid my national insurance. Where's my fucking heart attack?
That's right.
Big man.
Absolutely.
I'm due to get chopped up. Yeah, fucking crap. Stay healthy. That's a better idea. Anyway, folks, so phrasing is nonsense. It's just throwing red meat to the base because there is no fact, figure, or fiction amongst it. It's all nonsense.
Yeah.
It is all nonsense. He wouldn't be able to do any of these things because the amount of legal loopholes, even as Prime Minister and in charge of the Parliament, he would need to go through just to make it happen. The amount of acts of Parliament would need to be rescinded and then rewritten. And it's just nonsense, honestly.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things where when Farage farts, everybody goes, "Oh, was that a wet fart or was it just a straightforward fart? Let's have a listen, And at the end of the day, it's like, Farage, well, why are we paying attention to the man?
Anyway, Stephen Bankier makes it.
I'll tell you why we're paying attention to the man, David. Is because the broadcasting companies and the publishing companies want us to listen to this arse.
That's right, because he's getting overexposure for a man that's only a party with 5 MPs.
Yeah. You look at the way back and stuff when he was an MEP in Europe, right? He was on the BBC, on the couch, getting interviewed more than any other politician.
Aye. Somebody wanted to have heard, didn't they?
Yes.
Anyway, they could say the same with Alex Salmonberg, couldn't they? Yeah. Anyway, but that quite nicely brings us on to the Liberal Democrats conference because Ed Davies going to...
This is not the one in Scotland, guys, that they're holding the telephone kiosk way up in the north of Scotland. No, that's it's the one in London. We're on
about. It's the UK Liberal Democrats conference, all right. Go tell folks in Edinburgh. Anyway, Ed Davies given his keynote speech, and that is how they need to take on Farage, how they need to beat Farage. Now, to give Ed Davies a wee bit of kudos lately, he's been tackling the broadcasters on how much overexposure Farage has been getting compared to his party and the Green Party.
Yeah.
And so he's beating the drum for the Lib Dems taking on.
In terms of numbers, right? Let's say that numbers of people elected or whatever equated to the amount of time online, on broadcast time, or column inches or whatever, right? Do we consider that Reform are going to be more than the Lib Dems? Now, right at this moment in time.
David, but that's not how broadcasting works. It's not supposed to work. It's supposed to give a level playing field to everybody. But obviously Reform's getting overexposure. Now, but the interesting one in the Lib Dem conference for me wasn't Ed Davies' keynote speech about how the Lib Dems are going to tackle Reform.
Yeah.
It was Nick Clegg's speech.
Yeah.
Where he said he was disgusted at Starmer bending the knee to Trump. You know, I thought that's a great term, bending the knee, because that's exactly what Starmer was doing. But it also made me reflect on how Starmer and his team actually managed to manage something properly. Do you know what that was?
Go on, eh? Well, please tell me. Diddlywinks? A game of Diddlywinks? Or?
Oh, Trump's state visit was a fucking stroke of genius. They kept him away from the Parliament. They kept him away from the people. They turned them round Windsor Palace grounds and a golden carriage. Fed him, took him up to Chequers, had their political discussion, and got him out the country without him having to see a single ordinary man in the street.
Yeah, I know. No, do you know what? And the best at the time was the thing by Led by Donkeys, the projection.
Yes.
Of the story.
He didn't even get to see that.
On the side of the castle, of the Windsor Castle.
Trump didn't even get to see that because they were huckled away before he was anywhere near that area with a carriage. It was, when you get right down to it, Trump came for a state visit, which was exactly not a state visit. It was a private visit to the King and then a private visit to Czech.
I reckon he's seen all this when he got back to America. And what he did was he looked at a fucking tube of paracetamol, right? And he went, "Yeah, bastard." And he thought, how can I take it out on paracetamol, right? Tell you what, I'll put out this story that paracetamol causes Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's and newborn babies.
Anyway.
Excuse me, guys. Yeah. That's the latest thing he's putting out, is that paracetamol causes Alzheimer's.
I'll tell you what hearing aids causes you. To get your shovel out and get yourself dug down as many fucking rabbit holes as possible. By that was hard work today.
I love giving you a hard time. I really do. Because it makes you work hard for it.
The own topic is murder, man.
It makes you work hard.
Work hard. I'll tell you, there's a reason why I've got grey hair and a grey beard, you. And it's no cause Christmas is coming up, that's for fucking sure. Anyway, that's it.
What can I say, guys? It's like we've got a situation whereby I brought David in 2012, right? And he came and he was asking questions. I said, why don't you read about it yourself? And he did. And basically what happened was, it was Frankenstein. It was bloody Frankenstein.
You almost had the story right. I wasn't asking questions. I was asserting numbers. And you were all asking for links. And I was telling you my numbers. You're the one that tell me to fuck off and verify it. Up until then, nobody's ever tell me to check me.
I don't think I would have used the word like verify.
No, people don't believe you without links.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, well, I've never had to fact check my own figures before because I didn't put them out there before, you know. I generally do my own sums.
Can I just say, I don't believe that characterization, David. I really don't. Because I seem to remember at the time, it's like the guy that came in to the League of Very Sovereign Scots at the time. It's like, yes, you were saying some pretty intelligent things.
I would ask you questions. I'm not shy in asking questions. And I was asking questions. I was asking, why is this Muppet saying this? Why is that Muppet saying that? And you were saying, why is this Muppet saying that? So we were all asking each other for links, you know. But to be fair, it's been an interesting ride so far. But geez, sometimes you have to keep on topic. You do like to segue off in directions that are unexpected.
Yes. Well, there you go. It's like,
It keeps
there's some good stuff that we could actually spend days discussing, not debating, just discussing, right?
Aye, but that's for
And it's like there's one that we did have always was the thing about the Israel thing about 1990, 1994 was it? The day that the Israelis had to move out of Gaza. Settlers were actually in Gaza, I believe, at the time. And they were told they had, yeah, they were told they had to move. And I remember that on the TV where people were hanging on the front of the I don't. And the Israelis were pulling them out the door and we don't leave. And,
part of the camp.
yeah, that was good TV. That really was good TV at the time.
I wouldn't know. But listen, we're going to have to round it up here at 1700. I've got work to go to in 30 minutes,
Right.
as you know.
Okay.
So, folks, thanks for tuning in today. Hit the like button, please. Moderators, thanks very much for moderating. Any super chats we missed, thank you very much for your contribution to the food banks. As I say, just hit the like button. Keep your eyes on the prize. David, on you go.
Right. Independence, independence, independence. And welcome to a post-American era.
We're getting there. I'm glad, but that's for a different day. We're almost there.